explained earlier, the burden of proof lies upon the complainant. However, in the interest of the peace and the global security, we are here to explain our position with regard to a number of points as raised by the member states of the Executive Council. The first is about the reason for radionuclide detection on the 2 radionuclide stations. The Democratic Republic of Azania is amongst the top 4 producers and exporters of the radiation-based technologies, which includes production of the molybdenum-99, which is a very, very important medicine for human health, life, and safety. It treats the cancer. And a number of the member states of the global community sitting here, they import our medicine with the surety that all our production facilities that produce molybdenum-99 are under the IAEA safeguards and routine inspections. To add further, this fact is well published and known to the world, as indicated here. Was published. There was an explicit article published in the Washington Post on May 6, 2013, explaining our position. However, it's pertinent to mention here that we are not producing this molybdenum-99 from the highly enriched uranium anymore, and instead we have shifted to the low enriched uranium. As I explained earlier also, that the production of molybdenum-99 is very, very important and has become more important due to its acute shortage in the world at present. We converted from highly enriched uranium to the low enriched uranium technology for production of this molybdenum-99 in order to ensure the safety of the people of the world and in order to demonstrate to the world that no more we are for the nuclear weapon production. Hence we are saying goodbye to the nuclear weapons forever, leaving aside the highly enriched uranium facilities, or closing down or transforming to the low enriched uranium facilities. I would like to draw the attention of the members, honorable members of the Executive Council, to the fact that the concentration of the radionuclides that were received on the 2 radionuclide stations, there were 2, which were 2 particles each, is very, very low when you consider the vicinity of these 2 radionuclide stations to the site of the molybdenum productions. As this clearly indicates that there have been no nuclear test. Had there been a nuclear test, after all, the concentration of the radionuclide particles received at the station would have been far more. And there is at present no technology known to the world for hiding these noble gases. These are one of the great traces of the nuclear explosion. It is another very important point for all the members, honorable members of the Executive Council, to consider that there is an absence of evidence for any other station except for the very close to ones. You need to understand the fact that the explosion, that is a high explosive explosion, TNT explosion, was very close to our capital. How can a logical mind consider undertaking an explosion very close to the capital of the country? All the parameters of the chemical test that we conducted earlier in May were reported to the CTBTO and were reported to the world and were in the media. So there was no hiding of any of the tests as such. That is the high explosive test, which is misunderstood to be the nuclear test. There was no nuclear test at all. And secondly, this nuclear test was also aimed at destroying the old weapons, which we don't want to go into the wrong hands. So this was a pro-peace initiative, a pro-peace experiment, and not at all aimed at production of any nuclear weapon or bomb. Our past nuclear program was fully abandoned before we joined the CTBT. We have not come up with any new pro-nuclear program or pro-weapon program in the nuclear capacity. So there is no alignment of the Federal Republic of Azania with any kind of nuclear bomb or nuclear bomb production. It's not in line with the aspiration of our people also. There's a need for the logic to be considered. And I have flashed few points for the consideration by all the members of the Executive Council. We have no political reason to possess a nuclear bomb as such. There is no logical reason for us to aspire for a nuclear bomb. There is an appeal of logic not to test under CTBT as such. That it is the counterproductive to the Federal Republic of Azania to test a nuclear bomb. And above all, the development and testing of the nuclear bomb is against the aspiration of our people and our standing in the world. That if the instrument of OSI allowed today within the capacity of the CTBT, it will damage and will become a tool of exploitation, political exploitation by the others. We therefore request the Executive Council to deliberate more and reach a prudent, learned decision rejecting the OSI request with a majority vote. I am open to any questions if you have in my defense.
Thank you. I open the floor for questions to be addressed to the distinguished representative of the Federal Democratic Republic of Azania. If you will please raise your placards and you will be acknowledged. I invite the distinguished representative of Ghana to address the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. First of all, let me say that I am impressed the way you responded to the comment from the Republic of Japan, which is really not, I don't want to say much about that. Let me not believe that the Republic of Equilibria, it's in their blood to be making on-site inspection requests all the time. The other time it was against Florentia, and this time around it is against Azania. From Article 4, Section 37, the requesting state party shall refrain from unfounded or abusive inspection requests. But having said that, from the information provided, after the first event took place, Equilibria sought for clarification just once, after which it refrained from seeking further clarifications and then went ahead to ask for on-site inspection. Of course, we all know that that request was quashed. After the second event happened, there was no further clarifications sought. I want to suggest that there should be further consultations and clarifications. As I made earlier in my opening statement.
Pardon, distinguished representative, if you could please address the question.
Yes, just a second. Yeah, I want to ask the Republic of Azania if they will accept observers instead of on-site inspections to come and observe the facilities in question, which they have told us the radiations are coming out from. If they would accept good neighbors to come and observe this very facility and let us know if instead of, because we all know the far-reaching consequences of OSI. So if they will accept observers instead of on-site inspection, so that would go a long way in helping us to sort out the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In fact, we are open to all kind of clarifications. We are clarifying our position. We are rendering all the evidences. And we are open to the observers from the friendly and other countries, regional and extra-regional, to come and observe the site where the chemical explosion took place and ratify to the world that there was no. But on-site inspection has its own sensitivity, as I have been explaining earlier to the respective delegates also and to the other people. This is abusive use of the on-site inspection. And imagine if an on-site inspection is carried out and on-site inspection says that there was nothing there, tomorrow you will have difficulty in deciding about authorizing the on-site inspection to even a rightly alleged state. So please understand the sensitivity of the on-site inspection. We are open to the observers, and we will be coming up with, certain kind of proposals towards that and towards the close of the session.
Thank you. I invite the distinguished representative of the United States of America to ask his question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and we thank the distinguished delegate from Azania for taking the time to provide with explanations which are mostly needed at this hour, and we have many questions indeed. There is a series of questions that I want to ask, but the story provided, the case made by Azania is that these emissions that were detected by the CTBTO came from a radioisotope production facility. But they never told us really, was it accidental or was it something planned? And then I have more questions, but if you would like to answer this.
Thank you very much. That's a scientific and technical question. In fact, however, I'll try and answer that. These radioisotopes can come up of any radionuclide facility or the nuclear facility accidentally and occasionally, and they keep coming up, and a number of stations have been receiving. However, there is something very important to note, that in case of the DPRK's test, there were no radionuclides, and all of a sudden that came up. So, as a matter of fact, a number of radionuclides have always been received on this facility before also.
Can we have a follow-up?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Well, you referred to the case of the DPRK nuclear test, but that was a nuclear test.
That's what differentiates a nuclear test from a non-nuclear test.
And you said that the main thing there was that there was a large delay in the detection. At least we understand the third announced nuclear test, or nuclear test by the DPRK, which brings up a very interesting question. The CTBTO told us yesterday that the xenon was, and they can tell that from their data, was generated. The fission nuclear reaction that produced the xenon was 54 days prior to the detection. That's what they said. And actually, Dr. Corden said 15% uncertainty, which means plus minus 3 days, right? So 54 days it was generated. And then it was emitted into the atmosphere, so it seeped into the air and transported towards the CTBTO detectors 4 days before the detection. So where was the xenon sitting, hiding for 50 days? 54 days? 4 days? There are 50 days in between, right? And why I'm asking if it was planned or an accident, it's because you have, and we know that you have, because we helped you build it, excellent safety standards at these radioisotope facilities. And you didn't know about that until the last day. So for 54 days, didn't you pick up anything in your facilities? Were your workers in danger? Because back in 2009, there was an incident. There was an incident in the same facility. And the Nuclear Energy Corporation of Azania, I have the article, and we can share.
Distinguished delegate, if we
I will. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm wrapping up for now. And then they managed to detect within hours that xenon and krypton was accidentally again emitted from the same facility within hours. And now for 54 days, you didn't pick up anything. That's very interesting. But we'd like to hear to your answer, what you have to say. Thank you.
It simply says that we never tested a nuclear bomb. Had we tested and prepared for the highly enriched uranium...
That's not my question.
Had we tested or prepared for the nuclear highly enriched uranium, the CTBTO facilities would have received some kind of radionuclides much prior to the test. So if they receive today, I can assure you there will be no test in future. And that's supposed to my point. And second, that I explained earlier, is the concentration of the radionuclide particles received by the radionuclide station. It is too less to say, with the vicinity kept in mind. The atmospheric transport model works on hundreds and thousands of miles. It is the South Atlantic facility is very close to the Republic of Azania. So this concentration being received by a very close facility is too less. And another point to make is we are one of the biggest importer in the world of our molybdenum-99 is the United States of America, and they have They have spent about $25 million into this facility, and they want us to increase and enlarge the facility in order to meet the shortage of molybdenum-99 there in the United States of America. So it's not consistent with your state policy, maybe. Thank you, sir.
Well, for the record, I don't think you answered my question, sir, and we're not satisfied, but we are willing to consult with you even on a bilateral basis, because we need to get to the bottom of this. Thank you very much.
We are open to the bilateral, multilateral, trilateral cooperations. We are even open to the mediation.
We are
open to some other kind of solutions also.
Thank you. I suggest that we move on to the next question. We have several more questions. And at this time, I would like to close the questions roll as well. If you have any questions, go ahead and raise your placards now. So at this time, I invite the distinguished delegate from Peru to ask a question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, distinguished delegate from Republic of Azania. Thank you for giving us clarification. But you started your statement with the information how advanced your nuclear program is, and you told that you're among one of the top 5 countries, export countries of radiologic technologies. It's really impressive, but you also confirmed that you possess highly enriched uranium, and this makes kind of suspicion for us. And then it means that there is still a possibility that your country can, possibility is quite high that your country can possess or develop or even test a nuclear weapon. And you told that there is no logical there is no logic, and you told that you did not test anything, but you told that before you had a nuclear weapon. And what was the reason for that time to have a nuclear weapon program? Thank you.
We never had a nuclear weapon or a nuclear weapon program. We had nuclear site, we had the capability to build a nuclear weapon, which we abandoned before joining the CTBTO, number one. Number two, you asked for the reason. There has to be a political reason for possession of a weapon. There has to be a reason for possession of a car, because you cannot walk by your feet. There has to be a reason for possession of a horse. Similarly, there has to be a political reason for the possession of a nuclear weapon. And I'm explaining repeatedly that we don't have any political reason to possess a nuclear weapon at all. And the nuclear weapon possession will go against us by any definition. So why should we possess that? Thirdly, you talked about the advancement of our nuclear molybdenum production facility. I explained earlier, we have transformed from highly enriched uranium, which can produce a nuclear weapon, to a low enriched uranium, which cannot produce a nuclear weapon. So we have already abandoned the means of production, we have already abandoned the site, we have already abandoned the program, and we are no more into the nuclear production.
But how do you get highly enriched uranium?
We are no more. We have abandoned the HEC and HEU, and we are on to the LEU, that is low enriched uranium. I explained in my slide.
No, well, whilst we respect your explanations...
Pardon, we need to move on to the next country.
Okay, Madam Chair.
I invite the distinguished delegate of Japan to address the floor, and might I remind everyone asking questions to please keep them concise and to the substance of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I will do exactly what you are saying. One question I have is that if you are so innocent, why are you so defensive? Why don't you just allow the on-site inspection to go on so that you are vindicated? If you are innocent, why are you so stubborn? Thank you.
Thank you very much, the distinguished delegate. We are not stubborn, we are not strict. We want to preserve the integrity of honor in the Committee of Nations. We want to preserve the integrity and superiority of the CTBT as a treaty amongst the signatories and the member states. We want to preserve the sanctity and honor of the on-site inspection. If you allow the on-site inspection and nothing is found, a scenario let me build, what will happen? Tomorrow, if somebody conducts a nuclear test, you will be in difficulty to authorize an on-site inspection on the basis of weak evidence. So do not authorize an on-site inspection that will end into a failure. Please authorize an on-site inspection. Yes, we will be with you. That is supposed to meet a success, and that will increase the credibility of the on-site inspection. We are defending the international peace and CDBD.
Thank you. I invite the distinguished delegate from Estonia to address the floor. And may I remind everyone to please refrain from emotive language and, again, to stay within the bounds of the presentation.
Thank you, esteemed delegate of the Federal Democratic Republic of Azania. Our question is, what exactly is located on the territory requested to be inspected? Is it a military base anywhere close by, restricted areas? Is there any reason you would prefer that area not be inspected? Thank you. I have another question, but...
This is a weapon range very close to our capital, where we conducted the TNT explosion, and that will that will be open for inspection by the observers, not the inspection, of course. We can accept observers from the friendly states, but we cannot accept the on-site inspection.
And then in your response to the United States delegation, you said that that there were periodical releases of these noble gases into the atmosphere from health facilities. What do you exactly mean by periodical?
We were using highly enriched uranium. A number of civil nuclear facilities, they do release, as your capitals have suggested you also, that there is a possibility of isotopes being released from the civil nuclear facilities as well as from the nuclear bomb. But what I suggest here, and what I am suggesting here, is that the release from the nuclear explosion is much higher in comparison to the release from a civil nuclear facility. The concentration of a close-by station receiving the isotopes will be much greater to the appeal of logic.
Thank you. I invite the distinguished delegate from Indonesia to address the floor.
Thank you, Madam. I have a delegation of Indonesia, and you just showed some evidence like the event is near the capital, and there's a event has zero depth, so it's impossible for nuclear explosion. So could you provide more information about the geographic features of this place? Because, to my knowledge, some experience, if conducted in a mountain, like DPRK, also have zero depths. Thank you.
The weapon training range where we conducted the chemical test is very close to our capital.
Yeah.
It is not possible to conduct either surface test or a shallow subsurface test close to a capital. If we at all conducted a nuclear test close to our capital, that should have been far deeper than indicating zero depth. So I explained earlier that zero depth itself is an indicator of the fact that we never conducted any nuclear test.
Thank you. I invite the distinguished delegate from India to address the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. India actually has two questions, but as they're unrelated, we'll pose our first and then request the Chair, if we have time, that we may pose the second question before the session wraps up. As to the first question we would like to pose to the distinguished delegate of Azania, you've stated in your presentation that you switched from the use of HEU to the use of LEU in your molybdenum production facilities. We would like to know if you've switched to the use of LEU also in your nuclear generating stations, and what the status is of your stocks of HEU within your country. Thank you.
The transformation from highly enriched uranium to the low enriched uranium is in totality on all of our facilities, and as I explained earlier, all our facilities are under the safeguards of IAEA. They are subjected to the routine inspection. They are subjected to other safeguards as explained. They are contained therein into the IAEA safeguards. So there is no concern that the IAEA raised against any of the facility, and they comply with the international standards there.
If I just may, the second part of that question was, what became of your existing stocks of HEU? Have they been transferred outside of the country, or are they still being stored somewhere within Azania?
Since we never had a bomb, as such, we never had an HEU in that much concentration. We only need the HEU for the purpose of, for the molybdenum-99. And it's a very short-lived, the half-life of the molybdenum-99 is very less. So we only use to produce on as-required basis, and it cannot be stored for longer periods. So it's nothing held as such.
Thank you. I invite the distinguished delegate from Saudi Arabia to pose your question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And we thank the representative of Azania for the deliberation. But looking at your information, we see that there is a real serious need of clarification. We need transparency to have, in a timely manner, clear and convincing evidence of compliance. Since in your deliberations you didn't even provide the time of the said explosion, and you seem to attach the zero depth which the technical representative from the CTBT alluded to, we should not lose sight that that zero depth doesn't mean that the event is at the surface, but that the event could go as far as 10 kilometers. So to clarify that, we need on-site inspection, as it is one of the key verification methods to be used. Thank you.
That was a comment, I think.
The time of your event?
We notified the type of the event. That was a high explosive event, and 2.5 kiloton was the size of the detonation. It was detonated using the ordinary conventional means, and it happened at the site that we gave earlier. That's the Pine Tree weapon range, closer to the Pine Tree weapon range.
Thank you. I invite the distinguished delegate from the United States of America to address the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A couple of questions. Coming back to the first event at the Potters River and the conventional, well, according to your saying, explosion, was that a surface event or an underground event? That's my first question, and just a comment there. Right now we're trying to decide here about whether we will have or not an OSI inspection at Potters River. You keep saying that there was not a nuclear test at the other facility, which is close to your capital. We understand that, but I think that we focus on Potters River, which is in the middle of the desert. It reminds me of my home state of Nevada, and it's not close to your capital. Just to set that on the record. But about my question, the conventional, as you claim, explosion, was it on the surface level or underground? Thank you.
The high explosive test was on the surface level, yes. The delegates are busy deliberating.
I invite a follow-up question. from
Okay,
the United States
I'm
of
sorry
America.
to take the floor again, but if you're stating that it's on surface level explosion, I still have a question on the 50 days. Where did the radioisotopes hide for 50 days?
We never hid any radioisotopes at all. They came out of our civil nuclear facility, and they can come anytime.
But how come you detected them 50 days after?
No, we never detected it. It's the CTBTO radionuclide sites that detected them.
And a follow-up, please. You said it now, you just said, or a little bit earlier, that we never had HEU. It's also given in our data here that you had HEU at some point in the past. Actually, you usually have 6 nuclear bombs that you dismantled, but you definitely had HEU. You just said that you didn't. That's simply not factually correct.
I have a cross question to the US. Why did your USGS did not detect this event?
Please, if we can move to the next delegation's countries.
We can answer that.
Yes.
Yes, USGS never detected these incidents.
How do you know that?
It was not reported by the USGS as an incident.
It was reported by the CTBTO.
So it was well-published incident.
It was reported by the CTBTO.
And that's what I wanted to bring out.
Pardon
it
me.
was a well-published incident. and it's a well-verified incident, you see.
If we can move on to the next delegation, I invite the distinguished representative.
We thank you for trusting the U.S. government more than the CDBTO, but we prefer to trust the CDBTO.
I invite the distinguished delegation from Norway to address the floor.
Madam Chair, the distinguished delegate of Azania, we object to the use of an observer for verification activities. I'd just like to make that point. A question to the Republic of Azania. Is Azania willing to take the initiative and agree to hosting an on-site inspection to verify its commitment to the CTBT and clarify the actions of 18th of May? This, we would believe, would alleviate concerns of non-compliance and lead the African continent in non-proliferation and arms control. Thank you.
In fact, the on-site inspection is against the aspiration of our people. It's not trusting an honorable state, a sovereign state. It is, to an extent, an intervention into the sovereignty of the state. So we are not accepting on-site inspection, but we are accepting alternatives. We are ready to accept the mediation by the third party. We are ready to accept observers from the friendly states.
I invite the distinguished delegation from France to address the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Azania, for your presentation, further information about your country's innocence. But I want to put forward to evidence. You have the, you confused me or some other representatives. First is that you said you do not have the political motivation to gain nuclear weapons. But this does not necessarily exclude you do not have the security requirements to obtain nuclear weapons. This is the first question. And the second question is that you just confused me about your technological logics. That is from the highly enriched uranium to no enriched uranium. As we all know, highly enriched uranium is a weapon-grade uranium. It is all weapon-grade. If for the civilian uses, it is only need low enriched uranium. So why do you through the low enriched uranium to highly enriched uranium? Could you please give me some explanation? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, you asked a very pertinent question, the political motivation. The political motivation are of two types. The security concerns are of two types, the internal security and the external security. The weapons of mass destruction like the nuclear bomb are required when you have concerns regarding your external security, somebody invading you or somebody in your competition. So since we don't have any external security concerns, and every state do have the security concerns, but they are limited to and manageable by our conventional means, we don't want to transgress upon and acquire the weapons of mass destruction. The second question is regarding the highly enriched uranium. Previously, we had the facility for the highly enriched uranium, but now we are producing molybdenum from the low enriched uranium. So we have abandoned the highly enriched uranium facility, and we no more we have any weapon-grade uranium available with us or produced on our territory.
Thank you. We have time now for 4 more questions. I invite the distinguished delegation from Australia to present their question.
Distinguished Chairperson, distinguished representative of Azania, thank you very much for explanations. However, you refer a lot to logic, but not as much as to facts as we would appreciate you to do. We need a technical and scientific proof to present to us. However, there are a few questions which we still have, and in continuation of the question of distinguished representative of India regarding highly enriched uranium, we would like to, and as you just said, that you did not have a nuclear weapon. However, we know that you had before nuclear weapons, and of course the international community really appreciates that you dismantled your nuclear arsenal. However, we want to know how the weapon-grade uranium is kept and how it's safe and secure, what measures are taken against unauthorized use of it. Unfortunately, your country has high level of unemployment, 25%, and poverty, so it might be a challenge, of course. And so that is our question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. First the last part and then the first part. The increasing unemployment and low economy, we are looking at economic growth, we are looking at increasing the employment rate, we are looking at other political advantages to be attained out of the peaceful use of the nuclear technology and peaceful coexistence with the community at large in the international scenario. The high explosive, the highly enriched uranium that you're referring to, we had that, but we never had a weapon. There were only 8 or 9 states in the world known by under the NPT which possessed the nuclear weapon, and we were not part of those 8 or 9 states, so we never possessed a nuclear weapon. We had the capability of building a nuclear weapon, but we never built a nuclear weapon. We never tested a nuclear weapon before.